Welcome. This is Grammy Queen. If you're joining us for the first time, this is the channel where we get excited about love. This is where we ignite that which comes from within us, that which makes us smile, makes us laugh. Hence we say, the crimson light is life. So just remember to smile, because when we smile, we are sending out wonderful vibrations of all that which we are into the universe, north, south, east, and west. And that is the number 22. 22 is a master number. Of course, it's a number that I becoming more appreciative of since I embarked on the Luke of the Bible, chapter 22 and verse 11. So these are two master numbers that have led me on to wonderful discoveries. So it's like saying what you send out into the universe, of course, is important to be aware of it, because that's what comes back at you. And I believe that that is also part of why I've had a rippling effect of information that has been so insightful on this journey. So thank you for watching, and hoping you stick around. Let's enjoy this journey. Of course, we are about fun with names and numbers, or words and numbers, in case you're new to this channel. But really, with my last presentation on my discovery, of course, had been a lot to take in. And yes, it just had been a lot to take in. Of course, I use the word take in, it's what's already there, but it's the realization, accepting the realization of what is. Mm, 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 mm. And that is feeling better. Okay, so let's enjoy this deliciousness of uncovering and unraveling the mysteries of numbers, the mysteries of the words, and how they impact our lives. Okay, of course, we are working with the template of sacrifice and revelation. We have yet to really unravel revelation, which has been very insightful so far. But of course, we are going with the flow. And talk of flow, we have been talking about water. Mm, 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 mm. This is it. We have been talking about water, and of course now I'm using going with the flow. It has just come to my realization that that is what water does, and it's been doing this exact motion here because perhaps I have not been able to capture a right, well, the containers. Uh, I don't know whether I was going to say are not big enough or whatever it is, or maybe we ought to be getting more containers to be able to capture the essence and the shapes. But we see that with water and the flow coincides very well. And the last presentation was that the conclusion of the number three was the idea is that these patterns uh, they are patterns that we have captured from, in some way, like you were putting water into a container to freeze it. And that is in essence, mm, 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 mm. And that is in essence this pattern here. We see it as well in the word sacrifice. We saw that the word sacrifice gave 22 words, and I say 23 looking taking into account the letter A, so that would be 25. But with 22, we see that that goes in direct correlation with the number 4, which is for post, for seasons, for gospels, for elements, um, and of course presence, which is everywhere. So we've done presentation on presence. So we see that it is really when we hear about the fact that everything is energy, I am now beginning to get an idea of how this solidifies into a material representation. Mm, 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 mm. This is really, yes. Okay. So this is just to show you that we go through the jazz in our formative stage, and that could be a pattern or template for whatever stage. It could be that as the stage of a project, it could be the stage of infancy, it could be the stage of any. This is what I am seeing here, like I mentioned in the word bell. I think it was in the word bell, but perhaps it was another word. It was another word. But I was seeing that there were cycles. So basically, there are motions going like this, motions into cycles and into circles. And that is what we are capturing with energy. That is what the image that is coming to mind looks like. And of course, I have mentioned that too. In my journey of actualizing self love or getting onto the bridge of actualizing self love, I had this experience of going through a basement which was really in a spiral motion. And that was very profound. In fact, if you do read to getting onto the bridge of actualizing self-love, it would be very insightful to see what happens in our psyche, in our makeup, the sort of transformation one goes through. And it was a very profound one for me. And of course, it's like it's really now doing these presentations is giving me that insight of that which I had gone through in that journey of getting onto the bridge of actualizing self full love. It was like really having an operation. It was an operation, yes. But it's then when you recover. So right now, it's like taking into account what that operation entailed. And in that motion of reflection also lies the deliciousness, the aha moments, the gratefulness, the recovery. It's like saying the recovery as in revelation. And so this is what these presentations are now feeling like, that it's like so many different taste buds put into one container. Me, that container. And now I am trying to define each taste bud on its own, as if saying, okay, this is sweet, or this is sour, or this is bitter. Like they say, the bitterer, the better. Well, and that is a combination that really can test you. In fact, how do you really handle bitter and better all in one? Well, that reminds me very much of moringa seeds. Okay, need I say more? Okay, so which is called the tree of life. Oh, wonderful. So we were on bells, and what I had missed, perhaps what I am trying to capture now in that presentation where I covered bell and saw that bell, the word bell is all in the letter B. So we had two. We have done hair. We know that hair, this face hair. In fact, we want to leave this hair because perhaps this is it's reminding me about the text or whatever, I love you, or the number of hairs is, we can't count them. So this is all wisdom. Okay. Hence I grow my hair now. Okay. So here we have what I saw in that last presentation, continuing from the word bell. I know I was trying to make a count of the six, and I may have to go over this again, trying to work out all the numbers that constitute bell. So we had two. So we have two because B, 1 and 2, 1 and 2 forms B. So we call that bell, B, sorry. Then we have, of course, we know if we do have L, which is the letter L here, that would be 2 and 3 would be 5. So we've covered 2, we've covered 5. If we have another L here, upside down, because we can do that, this is what it is about. In the word exnal, we're supposed to be able to form this relationship with everything and everyone, whether we are turning our heads to the east or the west. So we do that. So we have another 3 here, that makes it 8. Now, if we were to have U, this is U here, on top of all this, that would be another 3. So 3 and 8 would be 11. Of course, that would take us into number 2. But let's just take that. But W, so that would be 2 and 2, 4. So let's just leave it at 4. No, that would be, sorry, of course, we are adding. I added it onto the 8. But let's leave them. Okay, we've done 8. Let's go back to U. So we have 2 U's. U is 3 and U again is 3. So that would be 6. 6 and 8 would be 15. So we see 1 and 5, how that would reflect in us as human. Okay. So we also see that if we had W, as in the letter W, the value 5, 5 and 15 would be 20. Okay. So I think I may have to do this over, but it's really an exercise to show how much that is concealed in that W. Basically, when this bar, when the 13 is open, there is so much that can go in here. It seems like we can put the whole world in there, of course. We could put everything in that container. Everything. Until we seal it. And of course, the 13 with the Last Supper, where Christ is meant to be with his disciples, 12 and 1, 13. And it is in that sealment that is done, that agreement that is done, that has tightened that agreement, where it is reinforced by the activity of having communion, which is called the wine and the bread. Breaking of we have to do the word breaking, it's just come to mind as well. Breaking of the bread and drinking of the wine. And every time that is done, it is sealing that B, the B. Now, the B has been so buzzing in my head that I have also been thinking, of course, not just thinking, because honeybee came up through few of the presentations. So honeybee, I thought there's a message in this honeybee. And so, of course, intuitively, I looked in my cards and it hadn't dawned on me at the time. But then I thought, oh, I've got the bee card looking at me. It's the bee, honeybee. And of course, I was thinking of my uncle who had passed and who used to be called Honeybee. I was actually wondering whether he was speaking to me because he was really a very spiritual man of great faith. And I thought he must be somewhere telling me or showing me something. So I'm thinking there is something here in that bee. And of course, honey and bee, there's honeybee. So it also reminded me that I had gone to the shop because, of course, I have not been taking sugar as before, or well, I should say artificial sugar. And so I really, well, indirectly, because if someone gives me a piece of cake, I would eat it, or that sort of thing. But I went and I bought a jar of honey, and I was, of course, trying to work out which one should I get. But I was drawn to a cheap make, we could say the cheaper make, but I knew it wasn't about the price. And I looked at it, and it was called Best In. I'm really not saying that I'm advertising, but I looked at it and I thought Best In, and it's been there. So when I came about to using it, I thought, aha, honeybee. So I started examining that jar of honey, or the writings as well. And there is so much, so much. It said best in, so the B. And if you watch my previous presentations where I talk about um, 9 and 5, because best, of course, we see the B here. We see E is 5, takes us in here. And S, it's like it takes us back into our formative years where we have been learning, doing our jazz, and then it ties it with that T, best. Now, that T, now I am believing this is either, it reminds me, my shape of T here is like a hammer. And when I was watching this, I'm thinking it's a hammer. It's like it's pounding. In fact, it was a motion that I was doing in one of my presentations that I thought, that T is really, now I'm seeing my hand, it's like it's nailing it. So it ends with that T, it ends with that bond. That is the last part, that's taste bud. It lingers, it would linger because it ends on that T, which we say the tip of our tongue. Mm, 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 mm. Best. And then it says in. Now that is the B. And then it says, isn't the bee always in in a hole, in a hole? And that's what I'm believing, that this is also representing a tube, a hole. Oh, I have encircled the E and I'm going to investigate that because I had not intended circling the E. But there is a reason for it. That tube, of course, tube ends with E. I'm loving it. I'm not quite sure I know exactly what it means yet, but I'm loving it. So it's the tube, of course, T, and perhaps this is saying there is a U, well, B, E. The K here, we have K this way and that way. It's also looking like U here, and U here. So TUW would be two people are bonding. This is making sense. So two, the best in is bonding here with the W in the B as well. The W and the K here, which is, we could say it's a U or U, tube. So I'm believing the word tube is in here because that's what a bee does as well. It's in a tube. It goes in that tube. And of course, that tube, because I had been studying the pattern of the hole that the bee goes in, it's a hexagonal shape which comes in 6, and that is in direct correlation with the B. Or the other thing I perhaps could do here is, let's see what um, B. Of course, we have B is which we are meant to be doing water. Water and B, well, they both are liquid form. They both are very flowing, you know. So we could say we are going with the flow. So B, so it's 5, 5, and 2. We stick into 2 because that's what's visible now, but we know that there is so much more. And here we see 5 and 5, 10, and 2, 12. 12. 2 and 1, 3. We go back to the 3 here. I hope you have seen this. I don't know how much. I'll just go over this. So there's the B, and 5 and 5, 10, and 2, 12. 12, 1, 1 and 2 is 3. Now, what I saw on my last presentation while I was doing this, the B, the number 3 here, it's as if it's indicating when a lock, how do we call that? A link. It's like a link. So it's like if you were clipping a chain. Of course, it's like a padlock. No, a wrist. Oh, the ones the policemen use to hand lock. A hand lock. This is it. Hand lock. Okay. So it seemed like a hand lock. This is where it is, and that is open. But when it's closed, it's of course a circle. So this is a hand lock, a wrist lock. Here, let's say wrist because it's W, wrist lock or wristband, whatever. But there is where it has that flexibility here, that when it locks, it becomes whole. So that's what we see with the number 3. Now the number 3, and I'm believing I can see that same pattern happening for 1. It's like 1 derived from, and it goes into 2, and of course 2 is really that. So if we see that we can take the lever, the bottom lever of 2, that L here, and bring it forth or push back, if it were flexible, then we could see what's happening. But it seemed to be much easier with 3. Now that's what I noticed. And of course, free, free, free is denoting it has more, perhaps more of that freedom to maneuver to whatever shape or whatever else it is that we want to do, because it is a lock. It locks it. Wow, this is awesome. This is awesome. This is awesome. This is awesome. So we see how the lock, how the bar, so I have to say it's a bar now, how 1 sets a bar on 3. It sets a bar on 3. It hides number 2. because that's what I felt from the onset. It's like when three and one gets together, they hide all sorts. When one, it's not one and two, it's when one and three gets together, they can move the world because one and three is four. And four is like the four corners of the earth. The four can contain everything. There is no escape when there is four. Four is solid. Four is solid. So the intention, well, for this is just so much, as we say. So we see the flexibility of three, just to wrap up, how three is that flexibility, and perhaps there is an inner message in this. Hence why in St. Lucia and the Caribbean islands, when people are taking these leaves or herbal things to make medicines, they love to use three, because three has that denotes that freedom, or it's open. It is open and to be flowing into whatever it is that we want to do. But I believe that yes, when there is a bar, there must be a certain order to do this. And I'm believing that that is very insightful. So there we are. There we are. And I'm believing this is really taking us to places that we had not previously explored. And I'm going with the flow on this. I'm still not, I'm still with the water taking me downstream, because, yeah, I feel like I'm going. That's another thing. Downstream. Oh my. It's just that I have learned that when the words come in a certain frequency or feeling, it's really good to just capture it and go with it. So downstream, let's put, okay, stream. That reminds me. So when I'm uploading my videos, of course, it's about streamline, and that is what is happening. And I have not quite understood about the streamline business, but I'm going with the flow. Perhaps after I finish with water, I'll understand a bit more about that streamline. So we have 4, 6, 5, 5. Now, isn't that wonderful? Down. And that now reminds me, because that is 5 and 5, 10, 6 and 10, 6. 6, 5 and 5, 10, 6 and 4, 10, 10 and 10, 20. Because sometimes I add, yeah, 20. Now, there we see, it reminds me of South, S-O-U-T-H, S-O-U-T-H, 1, 6, 3, 2, 8. That's 10, and that is also 10. 19, 20. So we see that down and south is the same, 20, which we say in numerology is 2. Is 2. So we can see where the words derive from. We can see the frequency that they hold, which is what we had not known. And so when we are down, we are doing 2, or we are 2, 20. So 2, we are on our 2 feet, you could say. Perhaps because down, of course, we have 2 hands as well, but this is the 2, and I'm sure we'll get a bit more about that too. That we go down on our 2 knees. Okay, all right, we'll see how far this goes. So we have seen how B comes about back into this tube, the bee nest, and that's another one we're going to cover. So now I have understood a little bit more about bee, and of course, because we know about beeline, Hmm, we have to be really ready for that. I am anticipating a ride on that bee line. So, um, I'm hoping that you have enjoyed this presentation. I'm hoping that you have found it fun. And if you have, of course, enjoyed it, click the like button and share, because this is how we do it. We share to actualizing self-full love. In the meantime, stay blessed, stay bright, and stay ignited. Namaste. And spill over with love.